Hey guys, Andrew Douglas Lane here at the Douglas Moon Fragrance channel, where I give you my honest thoughts and opinions, unsponsored and unpaid, as I review fragrances from the cheaper end all the way to the niche, luxurious, and more expensive. But today, we're doing OUD MINÉRALE by Tom Ford, which sits a little bit more in between as far as prices go. Even on their official website, not even from a discounter, you're looking at $160 for a 50 mil, $240 for a 100 mil. Now I know that that's not the cheapest you can possibly find, like Middle Eastern perfumery and dupes and clones and things like that. You can find a lot of prices around $40. This one's a little bit more expensive, but it's not as bad as a lot more niche fragrances like, your Xerjoffs, your Amawages, and even more like private batches of Tom Ford. Anytime you see these rounded off bottles or the glass ones that are more in this kind of shape and style, you're looking at their more regular line, and they're going to be a little bit more affordable for the size and how much you get. But this one is an extremely unique fragrance as far as I'm concerned, because compared to even some of the more private batch fragrances of Tom Ford, this one just stands out. It doesn't really fall into a category to me. You could wear this at different times of the year, even though it does seem to be more suited towards the spring and summertime. I think it's fantastic. Let's read some of the marketing before we get into the actual breakdown and before we actually rate it overall. The warmth of oud is spiked with a wave of fresh pink peppercorn as fir balsam and ambergris balance earthy and marine inflections. A surge of smoky woods embraces sensual, skin-gripping musks for a contrasting fusion of elements. OUD MINÉRALE merges rich oud notes with refreshing oceanic minerality. So again, I'm unsponsored, but I do like in my videos to read, if I can, if it's not too long and too much, the marketing that they put down on their website. So the notes it says is pink peppercorn, oud blend, styrax, I don't know what that is, but we can look that up later. Ambergris accord, fir balsam, and marine notes. It even gives you a breakdown of how to use. I don't think we need to know all that. So this is an eau de parfum. So it's right there in that mid-range of oil concentrations. But right away I can tell you that as soon as you start to smell this, you're getting that rich, like the name mineral, like you think of minerals, you think of like stone, aquatic stone, something like that. To me, I imagine like water trickling down stones near the ocean or river or something like that. The smell ironically fits it extremely well. It says marine notes, but the way that they blended that, like that light bit of oud scent, it's very faint in there. It's not like a strong Middle Eastern type of oud fragrance. It's more of like a balanced undertone going with it. But the pink peppercorn with the fir and the marine notes blends in such a way that's like I said, it's very distinct, very earthy, very rocky. Like you're walking, like I said, the streams pouring down the river, and you're just getting that fresh water type of smell coming off of stone. I don't know if you know what I mean, but if you ever go smell some rocks covered in water out in the wild, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's just interesting. It's beautiful. Let's test the atomizer. Not a very strong amount coming out. It's not like blasting in your face. It just comes out in like a nice little spurts. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. I can't always tell. But immediately it's a room filler. Compared to even like some of the private batch Tom Fords, which can sometimes be a little bit of a disappointment for what you pay. This one I put on a shirt, wore it to work. I did about 3 sprays, like 2 right here and then 1 in the center. And wore it to work. And I had to wash the shirt twice because it just stayed. The marine blend with that fur, it really lasted quite a strong amount of time, even past the point where I really wanted it to, because to me, you've got to be in the mood for this. It's got that in-between woodsy / oceanic type of feel, but it's such a unique fragrance that you really have to be either a certain type of person where this could be your signature scent, and this definitely could be your signature scent because it has that type of uniqueness if you're that type of person who really wants to express yourself that way. But for a lot of us, or me personally, this is more like you've really got to be in the mood for it, but when you are, this is what you want. But you don't need to overspray this because it's very strong. My experience with this is like the longevity. Like I said, on clothes, you're looking at days. Unlike a lot of fragrances, people say things last forever, but they don't. This actually does last on clothes for like an extremely strong and long amount of time. But on skin, I think it's not going to be that long. For me, my performance on the skin, it definitely stayed very linear to what you get straight out of the bottle for roughly about 8 to 10 hours of like coming off of you, a couple of inches, a good decent amount of CIs and projection those first handful of hours just coming off of you as you walk past people. But as far as the skin scent and longevity and performance, it stayed and then became a very intimate skin scent for running up to around 14 hours. Now everybody's different, everybody's hormones respond to things differently, so it might not work the same for you. But for me, That's the performance that I personally got out of this. It's a fantastic, long-lasting, like the young people say, it's a beast. But again, you really have to like it because it is a very unique fragrance. And I did have nothing but compliments from my coworkers. So not strangers on the street, but like people that I work with who know that I test fragrances when I wore this and tried it out. There were a handful of different types of people who have different tastes, who overall appreciated and liked this. But like I said, it's something that you would want to have radiating off of you and lasting you for a full day. It's just a very specific type of aquatic, rocky, earthy type of fragrance. Almost you could say in like a hippie type of way, but not too much like more incense. So it's beautiful. It's very well balanced. I honestly, I'm not a professional perfumer, but I've been around a lot of scents, a lot of fragrances. And I think this one was made in a way that's very well finished and done. When you smell it, you wouldn't personally think that there's something they should have added or taken away from this. It was done just right. So when I say it's unique and you got to be a specific kind of person for this, it just means that at the end of the day, I don't think that everybody would want to have this on them, but most people could appreciate this as a whole if it was to cross their nose, cross their path. So OUD MINÉRALE by Tom Ford, fragrance-wise, with uniqueness taken into account, I think that the fragrance in and of itself is a good, solid 8.5 or even close to a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because it's very distinct but very interesting. I don't know if I'd say beautiful for this one. It's just very interesting and very fascinating, but in a wonderful way. So I'll give it a 9 as far as overall fragrance. Now the price, like I said, I don't like things to be too high. I don't know the quality of the materials overall. Even though it's Tom Ford, you never know the quality of the materials that were used. So is it worth the price? How much did it take for them to make it? How much effort did the perfumer have to go into making this fragrance? But it definitely has a lot of time and energy put into this particular one, it feels like. Again, as non-professional, it seems and smells that way to me personally because it's just so well balanced and so well done. And it's incredible strength and projection and longevity. So I would say overall, the price, again, $160 to $240 for the size that I have here, which is 3.4 fluid ounces or 100 ml. I think that I'd give that maybe like a 7. So I'll bring it down to about an 8.5. So the scent versus how much it costs, because it is kind of expensive for what you could get other things, but you want to balance it out and say like a 7 to a 7.5 because of the fact that it has a wonderful uniqueness to it versus the same price you would pay for maybe a good sized bottle of a lot of regular designer fragrances. So we're going to sit this maybe at an 8.7. Overall, taking that into accountability with the longevity, the projection, the fragrance itself being so beautiful, or I said I wouldn't say that, but so wonderful and unique. I like using that word a lot, but so distinct, so strong, so long lasting, mixed with like a higher than we would like to pay, higher than we would hope for a price. It is a fantastic fragrance, and I do love it. I just don't grab for it a lot. So I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but it is something very interesting and wonderful to have around in your collection. So I do recommend you go into any Sephora, Ulta, somewhere that you can smell this and give it a shot. See what you think, see how you feel about it personally. I was just at Sephora the other day, and a young man looking for an oud fragrance came in while I was there, literally asking, did they have this? And they actually had it, and he tested it himself, and it wasn't what he was looking for. Because if you want something that's a very strong oud fragrance, you're going to need to look elsewhere because this isn't really going to satisfy that. But if you'd like oud to be more of a back thought, blended in with the marine notes, blended in with the more woody fur notes, then you're going to be very happy with this. You're going to be very intrigued by this. It is an intriguing, sophisticated type of fragrance. I don't think a lot of people who are too young are going to want to wear this, but it depends on the person, and that's how it is with everything when it comes to art, creative works, and fragrances especially. So I'm going to sit around a solid 8.7 for this. Perfect longevity, perfect projection, great performance overall, just a little bit higher than we would like it to be as far as the price is concerned, but I still say that it's worth it, especially if you smell this and you think it's fantastic. You're going to get what you want out of it. Just like I said, don't overspray because this one likes to stick around and overstay its welcome. So OUD MINÉRALE by Tom Ford, definitely a more spring, summertime fragrance, but you can wear it any time of the year because we're allowed to do that. Fragrances are up to the person. Scent is in the smell of the beholder. That's the way I'm going to put it. So I'm Andrew Douglas Lane. This is the Douglas Moon Fragrance Channel. OUD MINÉRALE by Tom Ford. 8.7 out of 10. Fantastic fragrance, but as always, instead of just buying it or trusting people on the internet, I highly recommend you go give it a shot yourself and go smell it in person in any store that you can do so. I always recommend that. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. God bless each and every one of you. Everyone's welcome here on my channel. Leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, tell me your thoughts, and let me know what you'd like to see me review if you'd like to see more. And if not, that's okay. I love you and I appreciate you for being here anyway. So again, God bless you all. I'll see you next time.